Hey 4am fam, let's talk about nervous system safety and creating peace in the body when we're stressed, anxious, and in fear. Now, the first step is to get a daisy. But if you can't get a daisy, I can help. So, what shadow work is going to do is going to uproot the previous wounds you have that are making your present moment anxiety that much worse. Because when things in the present trigger the wounds of the past, that puts us into an even deeper state of fear, shock, anxiety, etc. Hello, sniffing. So, doing shadow work is a long term process that will help you over the long term to uproot the big problems so that you can live each day in greater ease. You're essentially cleaning house so you can't be bothered by that stuff again. But still, inevitably, as we go through life, we're going to feel anxious. I would feel anxious if an earthquake happened right now. Life is scary sometimes. And so our bodies, our nervous systems have these ways of alerting us to danger. It's just the problem is in our modern society, we struggle with emotional regulation for various reasons. For one, we were never taught it. Stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Were a lot of people raised that way? Yeah, we were raised in the opposite of safety. And so for various people, for various reasons, our nervous systems are on high alert all the time because gestures broadly at everything is cray out there. Now, nervous system activations usually happen in the mind and in the heart. We have heart and we have other physical symptoms like shaking, sweats, tingling, a feeling of pent-up anxiety. But the mind is where we really start to spiral. So there are a couple of ways that I love using to help me get out of that space and get out of the physical triggering and to get back in a space of peace and calm. Somatic practices are a fantastic way to calm the physical symptoms and to soothe your nervous system. So give them a Google. There's a ton of different ones. You can find ones that work for you. They're very simple body-based exercises, tapping, breathing, things of that nature that can instantly soothe an activated nervous system. My favorite somatic practice is through the breath. And of course, breath work and doing breath work ceremony is a great way to do both your long-term work to root up the traumas that are stored, as well as work on nervous system safety in the present. So my favorite exercise is box breathing, where you breathe in slowly for 4, you hold it for 4, and then you breathe out slowly for 8. You do that several times in a row until you feel that calm, that sense of peace. I also like to address nervousness and anxiety from an energetic perspective because I'm very somatic in my body and I can feel my energies. I can feel where they're going. I can feel where they're discombobulated. And for me, when I tend to get into an anxious spiral or I get caught up in a lot of thoughts, my energy is actually centered here and going upward. I'm trying to project into the future. I'm trying to escape in different ways. And this happens to our bodies when we don't feel safe in the body. The energy will actually be trying to escape the body. It can be in front, to the side, behind us. There's a lot of different ways that our energies will try to kind of bounce out of the body to make sure that it's not feeling what we're feeling. And so a lot of these body-based practices are to help us get back in our body and make our body a safe place to be. Because if you're constantly carrying around trauma, which again, that's what the shadow work is for, but if you're constantly carrying around trauma, fear, anxiety, pain, our energy doesn't want to stay in the body and it tries to escape. Now, it can't fully escape. We are anchored in, but it can be displaced. And so that feeling of constantly anxious, always in your mind, projecting in the future, lost in the clouds, unable to be present, dissociated, spacey, brain fog, all of that can be symptoms of our energy trying to vacate and it's not being present in the body and present in this now moment. So spiritual practices of grounding your energy, connecting into the earth, as well as centering and clearing our energies can be very, very helpful to get out of the spiral, the panic, the whatever it is, and get centered within our body and present. The simplest way to ground, center, and clear is just with your intention and a little imagination. You can sit quietly, do a couple of box breathings or deep breathing if that helps you to get quiet. And we want to, first, what I like to do is send out all energies that have become gunked up in my field. Send away all energies that are not mine, that don't belong to me, that are not my responsibility, and that are not doing me good. Anything that is non-beneficial needs to leave, return to center. And as I breathe out, I imagine those scattering and floating away. The next thing I like to do is call all my energy back to me, little pieces, little thoughts, little fears, little bits of ourselves can sort of be scattered to the wind. And so we're calling all of those pieces back into one coherent whole. So calling all of our energy back when we breathe in, and on the down breath, the out breath, we imagine those energies are centering back in our body. They're going exactly where they should be. Not too much up here, not running away, fully within the body. And before we ground our energies into the earth, it's important to ground our energies into our body. Most people kind of skip this step and they just go grounding into the earth. But if we're really ungrounded, unanchored, not centered, not embodied in our energy, grounding into the earth ain't gonna happen, and it's not gonna do you any good. You got to bring your energy back within you first and ground within yourself. And again, all this is done with just intention and a little imagination to help the process along. Visualize it, feel it within your body, everything coming to you. It feels very soothing, very peaceful, and you feel more whole. At that point, then you can ground into the earth. And what I tell my kids is to imagine that they're a plant and they have roots coming out from the bottom of them, from their feet, from their bum, and that energy is going down into the earth, and those roots are planting deeply. And that does two things. Number one, it allows you to send more chaotic energies into the ground so that they can be transmuted and cleared by the earth, and to keep us really anchored and centered, because a tree with deep roots cannot be blown away. The final thing in these times that can be really, really helpful is avoiding your triggers, which means stop doom scrolling. It's not helping. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Get centered in your present day life and give that your attention. What needs to be acted on now? Any action you take should be from a place of calm, a place of peace, not from fear and panic that I have to scramble and protect myself. Get to that place of calm, and then you can address what, if any, action needs to be taken. More often than not, your body's going to tell you, relax. The fear is worse than the reality. Settle. Take a few moments to find your peace. That's what it needs. I will likely do another video on working on the mindset, corralling the thoughts. But in the meantime, for help with this and the mental stuff, you can go to my emotional support playlist. And in particular, I want you to look at the two videos. They're called How I Learned to Be Happy Part 1 and Part 2, followed by Mantras for Terrible Times. This is telling my story for those of you who are new here, that I struggled with decades of mental health issues, depression, anxiety. I was at one point diagnosed bipolar. These things were not the whole truth of who I am, and I have essentially not needed that label or diagnosis in over a decade. And so everything I've learned is both from a spiritual perspective and the years I spent in therapy and working with people to help me harness the anxiety, work through the depression. So I know from my personal life that this shit works. So hang in there, fam. Ride the waves. Get back to your center. We're gonna get through it.